I was so glad to meet you on email, Nev Fisher, the executive director of the Coalition for Pet Progress in St. Louis. You helped solve a problem, but you also helped me think about and uncover a deeper problem, a bigger problem in the animal welfare world. Shelters who are somehow territorial or think they're in a competition with other shelters. Let's talk and the reason that I came to need your help was because my New York Dog and Cat Film Festivals travel the country. And luckily, they do get to St. Louis, which is happy for me because Purina's in St. Louis, headquartered there, and they have underwritten a really very special part of the Dog Film Festival for the last 2 years called the Dog Chow Service Dog Salute, and fantastic movies about PTSD service veterans and the service dogs who have saved their lives. So I'm thrilled to be in St. Louis. But there was a misunderstanding between my 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 distribution, my film distribution partner and myself and the theater manager, which of the local shelters was going to be our beneficiary. Now, this has happened in many other cities. We go to nearly 100 cities. But in this case, it made a hoo-ha. And the wonderful people at Purina said, Nev Fisher, she is the fix-it woman. She is the diplomat. She is the UN of the animal shelters in St. Louis.
I love it.
So I'm putting words in their mouth. Those weren't their
Sure, of
exact
course.
words, but that's basically they gave me shorthand. That's the longhand. And after corresponding with you and talking to you, I realized you are that person. Let's talk a little bit about what the coalition is because it is unique in this country that one organization, a nonprofit, is an umbrella for all of the animal nonprofits. That's a miraculous thing because you are a unifying force. You're the connective tissue between them. Talk a little bit. You've been in the animal welfare world for 20 years, but this is a very different position. This is a kind of a band leader, an orchestra conductor.
Yeah, the coalition was actually created by Purina in 2009.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was the Purina Pet Lover Coalition. And so their goal, their mission and vision was to unite all the animal welfare organizations. We all know that Purina supports animal welfare in a really big way. So they started it all those years ago. And then the goal was for it to grow and be able to come its own separate 501(c)(3) so that the coalition we could solicit donations elsewhere and get grants and fund outside of just Purina. They still heavily support and sponsor us, but the idea was for it to grow, and it really has. We're up to about 40 animal welfare organizations, and that transcends from the St. Louis to the Metro East region. And it's legislation, it's rescues, it's TNR, it's just a huge umbrella of everybody that's contributing to just a really amazing animal welfare community, which we do have here in St. Louis.
That's a huge number. I'll tell you that in Chicago, another very big city that obviously has lots of dogs, and they also have a big stray cat population that has colonies that are managed. It's very difficult for someone like me to come in and say, Hi, who would like to let the local community know about the Cat and Dog Film Festival? And we'll give you 10% of every ticket. I've
Mm.
mostly gotten crickets. Nobody
Oh,
answers. Or if they do, it's how much are you going to guarantee me? Or no, we don't. That doesn't sound so good. It's very strange. It's as though and then you say, Do you know another organization that might be a good fit? Not really. And so it's disturbing to me because it's a major metropolitan area and one or more of the animal welfare nonprofits there fell on hard times, had bad bookkeeping. I don't know what, something happened. They were on a banana peel for a while. And it seemed like that's a terrible waste. They all want to help all the dogs and cats. There's one big organization that has lots of money and lots of donors. And the little satellite ones, if you will, seem to be like little boats out at sea. And the big cruise liner is docked in the marina.
mm.
You know this country really well. You obviously go to which a lot of pet owners don't know, there are conferences more than once in the country for
Yeah.
all of the animal sheltering organizations. Do you find that St. Louis is rare because you have the coalition to help unite all the groups to what are your needs? What have you got? Oh, you got a whole, I don't know, maybe a hoarding situation, or maybe you have too many litters. How can other groups help you? Do you have that? Do you think we have that other places in America?
I I actually don't know. I can't speak to that, but I think that it must exist in other areas. I know that this coalition does still feel like in very much a growth moment because I would say that currently the climate of the way the coalition works is that I'm finding ways to serve those members, such as professional development. We provide scholarships to attend conferences. We
Oh,
provide
nice.
yeah, that's a huge thing that we do. We provide funding for spay and neuter services. But right now, it is not collectively where everybody is getting together to solve some community problem. I
Right.
would love for it to turn into that. It still feels like everybody's in their own like bubble in their own communities doing
Right.
and serving their own communities, which is great. But yeah, I think, and one thing I do have planned for the end of this year is just a big collaborative adoption event where we all come together under one roof with all of our pets and do that. But nobody's working together yet on specific problems as a unit.
So that's the overview situation. As some shelters are overburdened, and there's press, the lay
Mhm.
press that says, oh, after the COVID pandemic, people had gotten COVID puppies or kittens. Now they don't want them or can't keep them. Or the economic disaster that's now happening in America where
Sure.
people
It's a
are
huge housing crisis.
struggling.
Yeah.
Terrible housing crisis,
Yeah.
financial crisis. Can they feed their family? They can't feed their dog or cat. But it seems that absent those issues, there are also shelters that are fairly empty. So if you have, let's call them wealthier communities where spay and neuter has maybe been in place for much longer, fewer stray animals, let's say not in the South where this is still such a terrible burden and problem,
Mhm.
pets and the people and the nonprofits, the shelters. Those people, if those, I think of Berkshire Humane in Massachusetts, I think
Mhm.
of the shelters on Long Island. They really are trying to get more animals in. They're like, oh,
Sure.
please send us a litter from
Yeah.
the South or somewhere. It seems that those organizations, in order to thrive and really fulfill their mission, should be working together. So if there's one van, one wrapped van that can transport animals, shouldn't they all share it? Should it ever sit in a garage? Do you see that for St. Louis and other places? The transport is a big issue, right?
It
And
is.
people are
Yeah.
doing it
And
in
I
their
do
personal car.
I feel that is happening more. It's interesting because I've been in this field long enough in this region to have seen where there was such an impact. Spay and neuter was doing its thing, and you
Yeah,
didn't see puppies anymore. You didn't
that's
see them in
right.
control.
Mhm.
We were going to the South to bring them up. And now, because one of our donors for the coalition, who is a St. Louis native, really cool guy, lives in California, he was a songwriter for Ted Nugent or something,
Oh,
like, made
cool.
all this money, and he has this amazing organization called Wings of Rescue where he does exactly what you're
Oh,
talking about.
yes, that gave me chills. Didn't he send a plane to Hawaii?
Yes, like, he flies all
Yes,
these animals in these
yes.
heavily populated areas to places that aren't as populated,
Yeah.
and he really wants to do that for us in St. Louis. That is just another endeavor I want
Yeah.
to, approach, is looking into some of these shelters that have less population and be like, "Hey, can we get a flight up to you?" It'd be great publicity for everybody. It's a feel good getting these animals out. So I do think that's happening more and more because we are back in, unfortunately, a crisis situation with population where you do see puppies all the time anymore. And that problem was eradicated before COVID. And he made the comment, and I've held on to this. He says owning a pet shouldn't be like owning a luxury item. Services and access and resources should be attainable for people, for all people, if they want to own a pet. And I love that analogy.
I love it too, and I would love to at some point, unless he's very bashful, interview
He's
him
not.
on the show. He's not great because we want more people to set an example. You know, if billionaires can give away hundreds of millions to something, then millionaires can give away hundreds of thousands to something, and
Right.
hundreds of thousands would have a huge impact in the animal welfare world, where often the donations are $1, $5, $10. We're scraping it together from basically tip jars
Yeah.
in local communities. And the idea that we could all work together. I know there were some shelters pre-pandemic, but I'm imagining it's still the same situation where they didn't really, now what are we going to use our shelter for? 'cause it's empty. The cages are
Mhm.
empty. Now, that should be a good problem, but it's obviously like a ticking time bomb because now they're empty. But what about, I don't know, 10 miles to the east or the south?
Right.
How are they doing? But no one is getting these groups to work together collaboratively because you've
Yeah.
got your money, you've got your building, you've got your employees, you've got your volunteers, you've got your fosters, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want to dilute that. There's a territoriality, but by the same token, if you all work together, it's like more hands lift the tent more easily. And that's
Yeah.
not an ideology that's out there because it does seem as though it's a competition. Who has a
Yeah.
bigger gala in a rich area like New York City or Long Island, or maybe even in your area in California? Whose gala is grander? Who is spending more to make it this big hoo-ha moment that
Mhm.
costs a fortune each person to go to it? And it raises a bunch of money. But it,
Yeah.
I think, puts the focus away from the boots on the ground, which is why most people are in that world.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I do think that there is an element to this field where people are ostracized in that way.
Yes.
Um, but I do feel like if you talk to people individually, they want what you're talking about. And
Yeah.
it's a matter of trying to organize, right, and get people to create a movement together. And I hope to be able to contribute to that because I do think that really truly that's what people want. And also I think there's an element just to take away I want this or I don't want this or there's a competition. There's a I call a day in animal welfare like playing a game of whack-a-mole, right? Like you put your head up,
Yeah,
I think I'm okay today. I think everything's okay. And then
that's
boom,
right.
somebody whacks your head down and
Yes,
you're sinking again and you're just trying to get through the day. So
that's
sometimes
right.
taking on a whole new thing like how do I bring people together and orchestrate and organize? It's almost like nobody has the bandwidth or the energy or drive because people
Absolutely.
are worn out.
Absolutely.
And so I hope that's where and I'm just one little person, but I hope that's where I can help create that movement because this job does allow for that because I'm
Yeah.
not I've been boots on the ground in my 20s. I was pulling puppies from under trailers, but I'm
Yes.
46 now. I'm not doing that as much anymore, but I still
And
have
also, your experience gives you more value in that executive director seat because you know what the blood, sweat, and tears is.
sure
All of the individuals out there working.
that
But
foundation. Yeah.
somebody has to look down the road. The workers, the
Yeah.
are looking at the road right in front of them. Oh my God.
Yes.
Parvo just went through this
Yeah.
litter. Now who else has it infected? Now we have to bleach everything. Or
Yeah.
one of the Fosters, their house gets parvo. And that happened to somebody near where I live, and she was never allowed to be a foster again. It's these little crises, and you're just looking at
Yes.
the road in front of you. Be
Yes.
able to look down the highway and say, not just there's a better tomorrow, but how do we all get there together without burning out? It'd
Yes.
be
Yeah.
great to not have that soul-crushing burnout where people in shelters begin to feel, well, one thing that's common is to feel really angry at the humans who have abandoned or had to surrender their animals, right?
Mhm.
Or animals come in and they're in bad shape, they're matted, or they're skinny, or they've got eye infections. And it's quite common when you've seen that day in and day out for the shelter workers to think, God, people are awful. I hate
Mhm.
people. We don't really want to be in that place because whoever had a pet really wanted that pet. It was either out of circumstance or lack of knowledge that the animal's in bad shape.
Yeah, that was a narrative when I was the director of an organization that I tried really hard to just work against with people that's another shift that I do feel like we're seeing in animal welfare. I think there's an evolution with just removing that judgment. We work in a very highly passionate field where
Yes.
people have an affinity towards animals that they don't have towards people. They'll throw you under the bus that they pull a dog out from under. And so trying to shift that mentality to be like, anytime I would have a staff member say, ah, the pill people suck mentality because we
Yes,
see horrible things.
of
I would
course.
say, but you're people and you're right here saving the day. Like you have to shift. And also we're jumping to conclusions. We have no idea like the history of this animal. Like we really,
Right.
really don't know. So let's not do that. Let's focus on what we can do and the fact that we're all people saving the day. And so people don't suck.
Yeah, I
Um,
like that. People don't suck. And also, not just the animal's history, but the history of that human who may have
right.
started out and now suddenly They lost a job. They were
Yeah.
a paycheck away from being homeless. Now they're teeter-tottering. Maybe they're on somebody's sofa or not. And they
Hmm.
kept it together for this animal for as long as they could. But wait, now, or you have somebody with domestic violence. Purina
Yeah.
also underwrites the Purple Leash and shelters
Oh, it's
that,
amazing. Yeah.
of domestic violence victims who now can bring their pets with them. We don't know the misery going on behind people's doors. We
Yeah.
see the result of an animal who's behind on their food and their grooming and their medical care, but we don't know what the people are behind in. How about their food and their
Yeah.
housing and their medical care? It's
Yeah.
really easy when you're in animal welfare because it's such a narrow vision with blinders on. And often people, and I don't mean this judgmentally, but I think it's factual, a lot of people in the animal welfare world are working out their own emotional issues.
Yes.
In saving animals, they are saving themselves, or perhaps their little sister, or their mother, or something in their life that felt like it needed saving. They may not even consciously know it, but
Hmm.
saving is so important to them. Rescuing, being
Yeah.
the savior, being the rescuer. And it feels really good and gratifying. And that's their main
Sure.
issue. And I will say that trying to save people is so hard. You don't get the gratification. It's really hard.
Yeah, that's a whole other bag of
It is
worms there.
it
But
is a
yeah,
bag of
it
worms,
is.
but
Yeah.
by the same token, it helps us to
Yeah. It
understand
does. I
a
agree. Yeah.
mentality of my group is doing this work. And
Yeah.
what do you mean you're also going to do an adoption event at PetSmart or Petco? That's our Saturday.
Yeah. Territorial thing. Absolutely. Yeah. Like we can't have two groups here at once.
That's
Yeah. No,
right.
mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the Greyhound groups, at least there aren't that many tracks anymore, and they close them down in Massachusetts. But the people that rescue greyhounds, which I hope and think are fewer and fewer as there's fewer and fewer racetracks, they seem to work collectively.
Do they? Okay.
Like I think so, but not nationally, maybe more in a kind of more a smaller territory
Yeah.
because they're focused on one breed of dog with one
Yeah.
background and one problem. And they're not puppies, and they're all basically a sorry case of animals that were run into the ground and etc. So maybe when it's only that specific, and come to think of it, breed specific rescues, which aren't shelters and are not nonprofits, but the breed rescuers do all communicate. If you say I want to rescue a Chesapeake Bay retriever, you that is an email chain and a text chain. All of them that know, oh, where are you located? Oh, there's a Chessie in X place who
Yep.
has three legs but really loving, and here's the foster person's number.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
experienced that as well. You are dead on with that. They are all a united front for their breeds. And I
yeah.
think it's great. It's a community and it's so nice.
Well, it'd be nice if we could spill that over into generalized rescue, generalized
Yeah.
nonprofit. It's hard because in each place it takes one person with a vision to start it when you're talking about a small place.
Yeah. And that is one of the missions with the coalition that I very much try to drive home because I think we all have a passion, right? You have your people that love the TNR. You have, like,
Yeah,
you love a senior or a medical case. Really what I bring home. People love kittens. Some people love puppies. Some people, whatever, large breeds. And it's like everybody wants another group to do it exactly the way that they do it. So I am trying to just drive home the fact that, hey, we're all our own separate missions. And how beautiful is that? Because collectively we're making such an impact because you're
yeah,
saving the large breed dogs and you're saving
yeah,
the senior dogs and you're a municipality, you're doing all the things. Can we just celebrate what everybody's mission is separately? Hey, it's okay if you're not no kill. Like it's okay if you will. Like it's if you are
yeah.
all managed intake or not managed intake. Can we just celebrate what everybody's doing and acknowledge it without being like, you should be doing it this way? That's what animal welfare seems to be a lot of. And I do think that people are trying to shift that and evolve from that and let everybody have their own individual mission without putting their judgment on that.
I'm really glad you mentioned seniors. That was a brain glitch on my part because there is a group that all of the senior dog rescues belong to, and they
Hmm.
all do communicate and collaborate. And once a year, they raise money and they split it amongst them. And one year in the film festival, I had, oh, at least half a dozen or more films about senior dogs. And in each town, I wanted the Saving Senior Dog Rescue, whatever it was called in that town, to be
Yeah.
the beneficiary and promoter. unfortunately, and these were very stable groups that had funding. Some of them had beautiful buildings, but other than Muttville in San Francisco and a couple of others, Lily's Place, it was really hard to get those groups to even put the film festival on their social media and respond that yes, they'd like the 10% check. They
Yeah.
were that tunnel visioned on these senior dogs, all of whom took a great deal of time, money, and management. So even for them, it was really hard to look up, as you say, from
Yeah.
the Daily Drudgery and say, yeah, maybe Kathy could put that on our events page. But
Yeah.
Kathy's kid was home from school with the mumps or something, so Kathy couldn't do it. It's
Yeah.
everyone's stretched thin, even when they are an umbrella organization.
And in this field, everybody is at such different stages of
Yes,
development, right? Like we
yes,
have some really heavy hitters in the coalition, like the APA in St.
yeah,
Louis, which are amazing and do over 5,000 adoptions a year and have programs for everything. And they're serving so many. And then we have really small organizations that are like volunteer based. And so
yes,
again, St. Louis Senior Dog Project here in St. Louis is an amazing organization that helps seniors. And I wanted to support their I don't know what fundraiser it was, but I was trying to bid on something.
right.
And you think you can just get on your phone and bid. And I was going back and forth with a lady who was bidding for me because they didn't have the technology.
Oh,
And you also have to think about like how some people have it all like completely
that's
figured out.
right.
And some people are operating with like kind of archaic processes.
They're putting up a flyer on
Yeah,
a fence post.
right. Yeah, they're hanging
Yeah,
flyers. And so it's like, probably you're asking that, you would think, gosh, why wouldn't you want to participate in
sure.
this? And maybe it's overwhelming for them because they don't have
Absolutely.
development and they don't have
That's
somebody
right.
tech
That's right.
savvy. Because I was taken back. That's how we were doing this. But I was like, all right, if that's how we're doing it, let's do it. But
That's a really good point. Everyone is at a different stage of development, or
yeah,
they have so many balls in the air that if they look away, a ball is going to crash. In all the cities where there was a senior service dog salute organization that was giving specially trained service dogs to veterans with PTSD, they have a coalition. It's based in Washington State, and I said, anytime where we go, just let the group put it up on their Facebook or let their members know they can come see the films, and you'll be our beneficiary along with a rescue nonprofit. I never got any answers back. And these are well organized and well funded groups, but
yeah,
their mission is get these dogs trained, save the lives of these veterans who are going to kill themselves if they don't have this dog.
yeah,
So it's one thing, well, I really want a pet, or really want to save this weak kitten. And there's other groups that say, if I don't get this dog finished and ready and placed with a veteran, we're going to lose another veteran. So everyone's pressure is different too.
yeah. That's a
So
really good point as well. Yeah, I think sometimes people are like, they probably see that email and are like, oh God, I just can't take on one more thing. Or
I don't even want to understand what this is. This
right.
is outside of my job description.
And I can
Today,
tell
I've
you,
got a dog with diarrhea and
yeah,
he still hasn't finished his training. I got to get the endosorb
yeah.
or the
Where's the
fortiflora.
Portaflora? Yeah, and I can tell you I've been there, and because I have been the director of smaller
Yes.
organizations, not larger ones. And as the director of a smaller organization, you're still wearing a lot of hats. And I'm grateful to now be in a position where when you send me something like that, I can take a look at that and be like, it's absolutely something I can do and help with.
And you
I,
did. And you did. You
yeah,
jumped right in. You reached out to this other group and you said, don't worry, we'll share. And anyway, Tracy's going to give us both 10% because that's the whole point of my mission is like to get the community involved and show the love however possible. Nev
yeah.
Fisher, this has been an amazing conversation. The Coalition for Pet Progress in St. Louis is incredible. You're going to get me in touch with that amazing man who flies animals like a
I'd love
magic carpet.
to.
And I look forward to talking to you again
You
sometime soon
too.
and hearing how the progress goes. Thank you
Oh,
so much for being there and for all the good cheer that you spread and all the strength you give others. Thank you so much.
thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm so glad to have met you.
Me too, you. Bye bye.
Take care.